Hola,
Hi Miguel, hola.
bueno, ya estamos.
Morning.
Bueno,
Morning.
ah,
Miguel, I think that we can wait for 2 minutes to see if there is going to be somebody else who wants to attend to the meeting, if you
yes,
agree.
yes, yes, please. It's what the Germans call cum tempore. We have Are sending an email. Oh, with the slides. Did you receive it, Anna? The slides sent by Are?
I wasn't looking my email, but I'm going to check it right now.
Okay.
But Are, if you want, if you prefer, you can share by your own, or you prefer that I share them.
We can't hear you, Are. Sorry. Your micro is off. Please, Are, activate your microphone because we can't hear you. It's strange. Looks like he has no connection. Okay, I think he's gonna try it again. Are, it looks like you have no connection of your microphone to the device you are using. Okay, now it looks like you are connected, but you need to open your microphone. Try again. That's completely useless. Doesn't work. Oh la la. If you display, you know, the icon of the audio, the microphone, normally at the bottom left side of your screen, Are, so if you click the arrow and display the menu, there is the micro. Oh. Yeah, there's the set of different devices that are being taken by the computer as micros. So maybe you should tick the one corresponding to the headphones and microphone you are using now. Mm-hmm. You look very.
And for any case, I think that the slides would be on the hands of Anna. Okay, in my case.
Okay, so
I just finished them.
You sent it to us and
some minutes ago.
Yes, we got it.
And you made also some introductions or not?
Just to say hello, good morning, and thank you for being here. It's going to be our last online meeting before we meet in Cuenca, the ones of you who will travel to Castilla-La Mancha. And yes, well, we had in mind to have a different case study because we mentioned Finland. Finland couldn't join us today. So we decided to try to have a look at the case of Estonia because we have someone who is really in the mechanism of the Ministry of Agriculture of Estonia, working to introduce rural proofing. And what are the ideas that Are and his colleagues are working in Estonia to have it embedded in the procedures for making decisions in Estonia in order to have that rural lens or that rural consideration for specificities, for particularities, for the things that should be negatively affected in legislation, strategies, or policies. So please, Are, I'll give you the floor and you can start.
Yeah. By the way, Finnish colleagues will be in Estonia in the end of May when we will have this COP rural government project meeting. Now, in brief, I think let's go to the first point, or not next slide, and I will not focus on the context. Please next. Please one back. It is important. Here. So OECD launched last week this regulatory outlook report, and Estonia has quite a high ranking in the field of legislation here, and I think that we cannot compare different countries because different institutional backgrounds we have, and economic conditions and the scientific capacity and so on. But in general, this rural proofing is part of this regulatory impact assessment toolbox. If the impacts in rural and urban areas are different. Let's next. Please next, Anna. Please next. This is the complex of mandatory impact assessment categories. And as you see, the regional impact assessment, including urban, rural, and coastal areas, are the 8. And in ideal case, it includes all these social, demographic, educational, economic, etc. impacts. And the data are shown in the map of Estonia. But the real problem is that this data-based cases, they are not very. We have in one mouth only one maybe draft law or draft regulation which includes impact assessment in exploratory memoranda, which includes good data. Please next. And then please back. And then this 7 points. I would say that it is the preliminary model of Estonian rural proofing approach, and it is in the process of design and discussions. And also we are using our project here to develop this approach. But we have the main elements. And please next. And starting from political support for rural proofing, I would start from EU level and the Estonian strategy design. The impact from EU level, and after this rural pact agreement on the EU level in 2019, we included also this rural impact assessment, rural proofing also into our strategy of Estonian development plan for agriculture and fisheries, and it also includes the rural life. Then also all this common agricultural policy, strategy documents and regulations are including rural proofing. It is also political agreement. Then we had governmental memoranda on rural proofing that we needed, and we will develop it. Then two government compositions changed, and but it is also important that new ministers are not against, and the support is continuing. And also our minister had this annual report to the parliament. She emphasized it. And final point here is on the national level is that rural proofing is also in the list of priorities for the next financial period of EU for the negotiations. And I hope that it will be also in the future here. Then on the regional level, this our project supported the activities on the level of Tartu County. And also we have Estonian Rural Network and Leader Union, different groups on regional level who are talking about it and who are waiting our results. And if to talk about local municipalities level, then we are informing them, and the first workshop will be in May, which is focused on the officials of local municipalities. We have more than 70 municipalities in Estonia, and 60 or a bit more are rural municipalities. Please next. Some strategies. Strategy Estonia 2005, emphasizing that public services are high quality and accessible regardless the place of residence. And it is also related to the constitutional rights of every person. Please next. It is agricultural and fisheries development plan. And as you see, the rural life, rural and coastal communities issues are in different parts of this strategy. And this strategy is related also to the EU level strategies because many resources are going from the EU now. And in this key areas, number 6, rural and coastal areas development, also it's the preliminary description about actions which have to be done during these years. Please next. I had last week a presentation for them at the annual conference of Estonian cities and the municipalities, and this was titled Knowledge-Based Regional and Municipality Policies, the Gap Between Words and Actions. And it was one picture that political strategic goals as promises are very good, but the realities are not so good. And we see decline of different social and economic issues in rural areas. And you see also a funny map here. It is the capital city is this big part, and other Estonia is not so developed. Please next. Legal basis, the rule of law, etc. Our guidelines and requirements are based on different laws and regulations, and this is in brief this list of regulations. And also I would like to emphasize that one of the weaknesses is that the connection between legal design and public service design is quite weak. And it is also emphasized on the OECD latest outlook, regulatory outlook report, also launched last week. Please next. This how this architecture of political institutions are built up in Estonia. Of course, the government and each ministry is responsible for ensuring that the impact of policies is assessed, and if it is the difference between urban and rural areas, also the regional impact assessment, including rural impact assessment, rural proofing has to be done. But in reality, we have quite big gap between data and this requirement. And the Ministry of Regional Affairs and Agriculture is the coordinating ministry. And also the good news is that we will have some structural changes in July, and the special analysis department or unit will be established, which is focused on regional and rural impact assessment. And also we have some executive agencies who are dealing with rural issues, etc., etc. And on the parliamentary side, Estonia is a very small society, and it is important that the chair of Rural Affairs Committee in Estonian Parliament is the former Minister of Rural Affairs, and he was also related to this the memoranda for rural proofing some years ago, so that they are waiting our results, and hopefully in September or October we will have some meeting in the parliament. And also they are evaluating different activities from different ministries, and these parliamentary hearings are quite interesting, and they are asking for a good impact assessment. Please next. In brief, this coordination, and in last part you see that what kind of tasks are in our ministry and what of tasks are related to the Ministry of Justice and Digital Affairs or Cabinet Office, and also the Parliamentary Legal and Research Department. And if the content is related to the regional and rural affairs, then in addition to me and my department, I'm working in the Department of Strategy and Finance, also Department of Regional Development and Department of Local Municipalities are involved. Please next. Fourth point of our infrastructure for rural proofing: analytical capacity, support services, etc. Please next. It is the structure of our ministry, and you see the red circles. These departments are more related to the rural proofing issues. If we need the data, if we have to combine different expertise and so on. My department, also Department of Science and Innovation and knowledge transition, then regional development department, local tourist department, and also public transport department, for example. And also you see the area of governance, different executive agencies who are providing data, etc. Please next. Some cases now and some projects, and when our project group was in Estonia, this My Municipality website was quite attractive for our colleagues in different countries. And important is that we can compare more than 20 different local government services, and we can create some kind of competition between municipalities. And for example, good governance or child well-being and so on. And the data on the map are very informative, and it's better than long reports maybe. Then also social follow-up surveys are conducted to assess satisfaction with municipal services across the local government. And the latest was launched a week ago. And interesting is that the satisfaction with local authority services are in many cases higher than real situation if you are comparing two maps. So that this psychological issue is very important. And the final point here is also last week was launched a new project and platform based on spatial data, spatio-temporal accessibility of public services, for example, educational issues, cultural institutions, and so on. And how many minutes on foot or by car is to go to the nearest service point. And also we will discuss this study in the end of May in Tallinn. Please next. Guidelines, checklist, planning procedures. Please next. It is the list of my please back one. Well, it's the list of my toolboxes I created with my colleagues. And toolboxes are in Estonian. There are processes to find where is the problem. Then we have the governmental checklist for impact assessment, and there is more than 16 pages. I made one pager for preliminary assessment, what kind of data we need. Then good practice guide for stakeholders engagement. The government has 4 pages. I made one pager and linked to the impact assessment guidelines and so on. And in addition, different tools and methods for service design, for impact assessment, etc. For the mid-level managers, if they need one or another as a menu in website. Please, next one. It is the central questionnaire or guideline, impact assessment guideline, coordinated by the Ministry of Justice and Digital Affairs, and it has the chapter 9, impact on regional development, including urban, rural, and coastal areas. And the main questions are here. And also this general questionnaire is linked to our rural proofing guideline, methodology for rural proofing here. And so some maps are also included here. Please, next. So it is the Estonian rural proofing guideline made some years ago, maaeluga arvestamise juhend. And I translated this, the table of contents. And it is focused on employment, competitiveness of businesses, population or demography, access to services, and connectivity. And also we have the different indicators on left side. But I think that one of the weaknesses is that for the officials of other ministries, these targets and indicators are maybe too complicated to connect. And because it is quite hard to measure, for example, they are developing some services, how their activities, their policy actions are related to our indicators. And it is one of the place to improve, and how to provide different online databases and so on. And on right hand, you see also this simplified process scheme, rural urban areas, and to help decision makers. Please, next one. Now the sixth big element open governance, its partnership, civic engagement, and networking. And the main idea is engaging strategic partners and to raise awareness on rural life proofing, I would say, and participation in networks, advisory bodies, projects, etc., to influence other partners and to engage them into this topic. Please, next one. It is not for reading, but main documents and issues. And in our ministries, we have also different tools. For example, annual stakeholders informing and involvement plan. Where in this year we have more than 180 activities, and I think that maybe less than half are related to the rural areas in this list. And also this annual plan includes the contact information that if someone from different regions are interested, they can connect with the official who is dealing with one and other draft act. This in our webpage. Also, we have this annual day of strategic partners and also good practice guide for partners engagement. I said one pager. And a lot of different projects which are related to the co-creation accelerators and so on. And also we have now it is financed by the cabinet office. It's, for example, we have now the accelerator for the regional impact assessment methodology, including rural impact assessment, which are designed for the assessment of different EU and Estonian programs. And we are trying to prepare this methodology also for the next period of EU policies. Please, next. A case of islanders and Estonia I used in Estonia, and I used this for the training of Moldovan officials talking about our project, and there are quite similar maybe stages to understand what is the co-creative approach in our countries. Please, next one. It is also quite rough preliminary picture by me. I presented it's last week in the annual conference of Estonian cities and municipalities. And the message is that technology-based regional and rural policies is possible. It is not the rocket science, but it does require smart collaboration. And on the level of state institutions, including ministries, on the level of local authorities and on the level of communities, we have our people and please talk with each other. It was one message. And on the other hand, you see that it is also one of the basic ideas of our Interreg project that I hope that local governments and local communities will join to press the state institutions, including ministries, in the field of legislation. That if they see that some problems will rise on the level of ministerial draft legislation or in the parliament, then based on data and collaboration, the local governments and municipalities would be more active. And I hope that our Interreg project will support this kind of approach, how to mobilize social capital to be more active if the regional and local authorities policies are in the place. Please, next. Very important is for me this Interreg project, and I added to mine and Anna slides third point: improve political culture, because technology-based it means also responsible policy, legal service design is a prerequisite for sustainable development in long-term perspective. Please, next. And final point in our this list of elements: policy oversight, monitoring, feedback, and policy learning. And this policy oversight and monitoring is also very important part in policy learning. Please, next one. There is the list of activities for reading, maybe not today, but we are giving there are different lines of oversight and quality check. And in my table are the ministerial draft acts designed by policy departments. Then the budgetary proposals of our ministerial executive agencies, and also policy initiatives, bills, etc., of other ministries, Minister of Social Affairs, Minister of Education, and so on. And if there is a lack of information on the regional and the rural affairs, we will make our proposals. And if needed, also we are using the so-called red pencil if the minister is agree with our analysts. And also part of our work is EU countries and DG Agri, DG Mare proposals. And Estonian problem as a small country is that usually the comparative studies and impact assessment made by European Commission is including the data of bigger countries, not Estonia. It means that we have to analyze ourselves the impact to our businesses, the impact to our NGOs. And I hope that more and more impact assessment would be made on the level of EU Commission, DG Agri, DG Regio, and so on. It is the maybe basic idea. And then we can check so that the centralized impact assessment on EU level would be also a solution also in the field of rural proofing, because the member states sometimes have no time, no money, or political will. Please, next one. Now the picture about interaction. And you see if there is the ministerial working group working on the draft act is in the center, then if they know that there was the quality check from my department, quality check from regional development department, or media, or stakeholders, then they trying to be more accurate, more better in impact assessment, and how to create this kind of behavioral situation that they see that they will have the feedback if the data are not very good, and if the rural proofing is not made in some cases. Please, next one. Also, I initiated this year in my ministry, I'm making a content analysis of all draft acts, primary and secondary legislation, where I'm analyzing plus minus different categories, starting from objectives, and also this category of regional impact assessment, including urban, rural, and coastal areas, is one of them. And another important topic is economic impact assessment and how to minimize administrative burdens, standard costs for the businesses, and also in rural areas. So that, and in December we will recognize the better departments who made very good work in the field of impact assessment, so that it is one possibility to influence the activities of policy departments. And the picture, the cartoon also is a surprise. Please, next. Now the process of draft acts approval, to see it, and the example of food industry regulations. On the right hand, you see the policy cycle process, and it is the fourth stage of policy design, where the impact assessment has to be made in robust way. And then the Department of Agricultural Policy is starting the approval process. And if it is related to the regional affairs or local authorities, then the Department of Regional Development and municipalities will influence then my department and me. And I'm trying to give advice and check the quality of regulatory impact assessment, including rural proofing, standard cost, etc. Then legal department is looking for legal issues. Then the top managers, then the minister, then other ministries, then the Ministry of Justice, then the government, and then the parliament. And if the information about the need of rural proofing is in the place, then in all these stages, the questions would be asked, is there a difference between urban and rural areas in impacts? So please next. Conclusions. Please next. So I designed last week for this conference of Estonian cities and municipalities this picture and translated with help of the ChatGPT today morning into English. So and the main idea is that we need the goodwill of people. We need clear objectives, guidelines, and data governance wheels across all levels of decision making, which are related to the rural areas. And starting from top down, the top for me is our people, our communities, associations, enterprises in forest villages and small towns. And then local municipalities, and the bottom is the parliament. So that the information would go from the top to the down, from the villages to the parliament. And also on the right hand, you see, but yeah, and the synchronization between these wheels is important. And we don't have, now it is the challenge, the synchronization in terms, objectives, indicators, and so on between different wheels. So, and then on right hand, you see the guidelines. In the center is the rural proofing methodology and guideline. And we have the first version made in 2022, and we are improving it. And also we are improving our design of complex methodology for regional impact assessment this year. And also, thanks to our Interreg project, Tartu County will pilot maybe next year county guideline. And very important is that this county level is very clear based on the map and starting from cultural identity, different language dialects, social capital, then economic capital, how to engage the economic, social, and environmental, and also cultural capital on the regional level, where they are together. It is important. And also this guideline for county would be help to give feedback for the ministries, for the national level. And based maybe on the Scottish ideas and some Finnish ideas, we are trying to build up this good data-driven guidelines. Please, next one. And it is conclusion. I started, but it is not finished. Strengths and weaknesses, as Miguel asked for me, but I was not very good pupil in this case. So in general, we have the political support, but no, the awareness of regional and local actors needs more work. And I would say also that the political support or political will is sometimes quite formal, and we need more human and financial resources. But in general, we have on the paper always very good in this room, I would say so. Then legal basis. Also, we are improving also our good lawmaking regulation. But basically, the situation is quite good on if you're talking about legal basis. Also, legal basis for quality check. That we are our monitoring is based on the law and all secondary regulation, and it is my tool also. Then clear rules. It is, I think, in Estonia, international level, quite good. And also we have this interministerial impact assessors network, and the Ministry of Justice and Digital Affairs is supporting us also. And Joel was also in Pamplona last year from this ministry. Then analytical capacity, a lot of room for development in different cases, and how to integrate different capacities, different databases. It's lifelong learning, but we are trying to go more digital and online, and it will compensate our smallness as a nation, smallness as a state, and smallness as a public service. Then guidelines is checklists. We will improve them in many fields, and how to simplify guidelines is for different ministries and for different also regions. It is the question. Then engagement, I think it is quite good, but the question is that different stakeholders are living in different, I would say, the information spheres, and how to be on the same, how to say it, knowledge room and language room to understand the problems and solutions in the same way. It is also lifelong learning case. And finally, policy oversight. I think that we are quite good, and we are trying to develop this behavioral approach with positive and negative emotions, but we are not talking about them. But this psychological background of this methodology is important, that if the things are good and stakeholders are happy, then also the officials will be happy. And if the regulatory impact assessment and the rural proofing guidelines are not followed, then the sanctions are also in the place if needed. And maybe two slides only. The idea, and then the idea is to all member states of EU and to all our colleagues who are dealing with rural proofing in our member states. I think that the rural proofing methodology could be served as a practical tool for EU and member states level negotiations for the post 2028 EU financial period, specifically in the regional and rural development policies. And if this methodology would be used, it means also, as a hidden idea for us, is that it means also that the member states will develop and improve their methodology of rural proofing, and they're trying to make more digital and data-based approach, they develop the indicators and so on. And we have no time. It has to be emphasized in all levels and in all seminars in Brussels, etc. It is, and one seminar will be in the end of April. And there will also some other slides, but I would like to finish here.
Okay, thank you, Ari. It's a bit that we are running of time, but in any case, I find that you have anything you need, I would say, in a progressing dynamic. And I think that we should pay more attention to your accomplishments on this regard. I don't know if anyone would like to make a question or comment on what we have heard today from Ari before we go on and proceed with Castilla-La Mancha as a case. To me, if you allow me, Ari, I am a little bit doubtful about the databases, and it looks like you highlighted very much how important digitalization would play a role, a decisive role on this respect, to have good data and to be more accurate and straightforward when identifying objectives and having this very clear code in mind and shared by everybody concerned. But actually, it's just a matter of putting the information to the knowledge of the other actors, or it is also about building the right statistics for diagnosis and then action.
There are different sub-problems. I would say that first is that the explanatory memoranda of draft laws and draft regulations are usually descriptive. And the data are maybe maximum is that there are so many businesses and so many NGOs and so on, and what is the economic situation now, but there is not prognosis, ex-ante impact assessment, what will be after the change in political level, for example. And another thing is that how to simplify the use of data. And the third sub-problem is the classification of space data in Estonia, and to link the database and also the map-based knowledge description to the lawmaking process, where the dominating rulers are, of course, lawyers. So that to create interaction on the basis of data and to create discussion, it is also the question.
Thank you. Any other question? All right. Well, let's go on. Thank you very much, Ari.
Thank you.
We'll come back in Cuenca, probably on the data you share with us. Of course, we will circulate your presentation so that everybody can have a good look at the data you provide us today. I think it's Diana Asin, the one who will speak on behalf of the government of Castilla-La Mancha. In any case, we also have Maite Valera with us, but the speaker today will be Diana. Please, could you explain us how you work and what you find to be the strongest and the weakest points of your strategy in Castilla-La Mancha?
Yes, good afternoon. Thank you, Miguel. I'm Diana Sin. I'm General Director of Coordination of the Government, and I'm accompanied by my colleague Maite Valera, as Miguel previously said, who has the experience because she's the Chief of Service of the High Commissioner of the Population. Well, first of all, I have to say that the presentation of Ari has been so impressive, so much data and information. They've been working in this topic for years. We have our case presentation, but I'm afraid we haven't done any presentation. I'm so sorry. I will try to explain it as good as I can. I will do my best. So, as you know, because you might know the case of Castilla-La Mancha, and we were talking about this topic on the first meeting. We are a national and international benchmark since we approved the law in 2021 on economic, social, and tax measures against the population. And so, as you know, that law incorporates several new measures, such as the zoning of the region, which is a very, very important turning point. We also have been applying differentiated taxation to benefit people living in those areas. We have applied positive incentive criteria to encourage the establishment of companies and entrepreneurs in rural areas. And we have also launched rural proofing or demographic impact analysis in our legislation and sectorial planning. And recently, we have gone a step further since 2023, and we have developed the demographic impact reports within the general budget that brings together all the budget items that are especially allocated to sparsely populated areas and those at risk of depopulation in Castilla-La Mancha. So as you may know, but it's important to point out, we have several laws related to the population. The first law was Law 2/2021 on economic, social, and tax measures against the population. We also have the strategy against the population that takes a period within 2021 to 2031. We have the Decree 108/2021, determining rural zones, what we name zoning in Castilla-La Mancha. Also the resolution of 2022, signed by the Vice President of Castilla-La Mancha, that establishes the criteria and guidelines to do the report on economic impact. And finally, we also have the Decree 106/2021 that regulates the organization and the functioning of the Governing Council of Rural Development. And I would like to mention also the law of the state is the law 27/2022. Of evaluation public policies in the general administration that introduces rural proofing in the regions of Spain. So first of all, I'm going to try to explain the delimitation and classification of rural areas affected by the population in Castilla-La Mancha, which is the main point to explain over our case. Secondly, I want to talk about rural proofing and how we are developing it in our region. And finally, I will explain the memory on impact and the budget of our region. As I say, we've been doing this memory since 2023. So firstly, we're going to talk about the limitation and classification, what we call zoning, that was introduced in the Title 2 of Law 2/2021 that regulates the delimitation of rural areas that make up the rural environment and their classification in slightly populated areas that are divided into intense and extreme depopulation areas. Secondly, areas at risk of depopulation. Thirdly, intermediate areas. And finally, peri-urban areas. For its part, the law has an 11th final provision that establishes that the Governing Council shall approve the law determining the rural areas of Castilla-La Mancha in accordance with that typology that we do have in Article 11 of Law 2/2021. The demographic challenge required adjusting the analysis to the reality of the territories. Therefore, the provincial level that you might know it's called NATS 3 has been lowered and the sparsely populated territories have been identified. This allows us to take different measures in each rural area depending on the degree of the population of each territory in our different areas. We're talking about public services, employment, entrepreneurship, taxation, etc. So we can make our little village and the populated areas more attractive to live, to work, and also to invest. And at the same time, we're trying to improve the quality of life in those areas. So, as I mentioned previously, we have the Decree 108/2021, signed on October 19, determining the rural areas of Castilla-La Mancha in accordance with this mentioned typology established in Article 11. The annex of that decree shows that there are 26 sparsely populated rural areas at risk of depopulation in Castilla-La Mancha, comprising 721 municipalities, which means 80% of the total of municipalities that we do have in our region, with a population of 438,000 people, which represents 22% of the total population that lives in our region, that occupies 73% of the total region area. The objective is to specify and implement on the ground the economic, social, and tax measures derived from the planning and programming regulated in the Law 2/2021. So in this sense, the planning instrument is our strategy against the population in Castilla-La Mancha 2021-2031. So the delimitation of rural areas is a pioneer initiative in Europe. We always talk about this topic because the Vice President and the High Commissioner of rural depopulation have been several times in other countries and also in Brussels, especially in the European Commission. They have asked us several times to go there and try to explain to other regions our case, so other regions can have this experience of good practices to try to develop them in their territory. And we also have been sometimes in the OECD, because they hire us to explain it, since they think it's an important policy that can help to change the situation. So this limitation has considered different statistics, such as population size, population density, aging, economic activity, the evolution of people or population, let's better say, land use, geographical isolation, and accessibility in relation to our urban environment. So to do that, we have the Consensus Agreement signed in June 2021 that established the statistical indicators to be used in the zoning criteria. The areas defined and classified as sparsely populated or at risk of depopulation in the Decree 108/2021 are adjusted to different situations and allow different measures to be taken, depending on the classification, of course, in public services, support for entrepreneurship, access to housing, taxations, and many others. So we do have 26 rural areas, as I previously said, affected by the population, with the following detail depending on the classification. First of all, we do have 14 areas of extreme depopulation, which means less than 8 inhabitants per square kilometers, which have 523 municipalities that adds or represents 57% of the total and have a population of 197,000 people. It means 10% of the total, occupying an area of 38,737 square kilometers, which is more or less the half of our territory. Secondly, we have 10 areas of intensive population, which means that the population it's represented by between 8 and 12.5 inhabitants per square kilometers. So these areas represent 173 municipalities, 90% of the total, with a population of 208,000 people, which means 10% of the total occupation area of the 21% of the total of Castilla-La Mancha. And finally, we have 2 areas at risk of the population, between 12.5 and 20 inhabitants per square kilometer, which represent 25 municipalities with a population of 31,693 people, which is just only 2% of the total occupation area of 2,437 square kilometers. So in these sparsely populated areas and at risk of the population, we do have 210 actions that comes from the strategy that are being implemented, which are framing 4 areas, as I say, public, economic, social, and tax services, and which have an estimated budget of 3,322,000 million of euros between the period of 2021-2031. Secondly, we should talk about the rural proofing in our region. In this way, we have a system that obliges to incorporate a demographic impact reports in the preparation of laws, regulation plans, and programs that the regional administration launches in order to establish measures to adapt them to the reality of the rural environment and to fight against depopulation. So for that, we have the report on the demographic impact on these projects and rules and plans and programs that are established in Article 8.1 of Law 2/2021 that provides the draft laws and regulatory provisions, as well as the preparation of plans and programs that are processed by our regional administration, must always incorporate a report on demographic impact, taking into account also the gender perspective. And that report might analyze the possible effects on rural areas with the population problems and establishes measures adapted to the reality of our rural environment and to combat depopulation. And we also have the regulation on Article 8.4 of the same law that states that the body responsible for demographic challenge shall provide, of course, you have to do it, guidelines, criteria, and methodologies for driving up the demographic impact report. So this report is an obligation and an element of improvement in the process of normative development and public policies, but at the same time, it is also an extremely useful instrument to identify and assess the different effects and results of a rule or a public policy in our especially popular areas and areas at risk of the population in order to establish measures to adopt them to fight against the population. In compliance with these provisions, the guidelines, criteria, and methodology for the preparation of the report on demographic impact and the draft regulations, plans, and programs were published by resolution of 24 February 2022 by the Vice President of Castilla-La Mancha. You do have these provisions on its Annex 1. And the report on demographic impact has a reference with the diagnosis and the public policy frameworks against the population in force in the region. In order for the rules, plans, and programs to be implemented equitably, the specific characteristic of the territories affected by the population must be taken into account in their conception, design, and of course in their implementation. The purpose of the demographic impact report is to identify these inequalities and mostly prevent them in the application of the norm and practice of public policies so as to eliminate their negative effects on the population. But also demographic impact assessment is cross-cutting, as its main purpose is to be an effective tool for detecting inequalities caused by the different situation and circumstances of area with the population problems. In accordance with that, we have Article 6.1 of the Decree 106/2021 that regulates the organization, composition, and legal regime of the Regional Council of Development of the Rural Environment. And in relation to the population in Castilla-La Mancha, the reports on demographic impacts will be forwarded to that council, which is the body that collaborates and cooperates in Castilla-La Mancha in the field of rural development. So to sum up, this day, we have 19 demographic impact reports that have been issued with the following distribution. First of all, preliminary draft laws. We have 10 reports issued, 6 of them positive and 4 neutral. We also have draft laws, 49 reports issued, 22 positive and 27 being neutral. We also have plans and strategies. We have had 11 reports, 4 of them positive and 7 neutral. We also have had urban planning reports, exactly 2 of them, the 2 of them were positive. And finally, we have had 25 others, 6 of them positive and 19 neutral. We have a recent examples regarding to my general direction, because we have currently been elaborating a lot on administrative simplification and digitalization. Well, actually, nowadays it's in the parliament, but we've been doing it for a long time, for more than a year. And I think, if I'm right, if not, just please, Maite, correct me, we were doing the demographic impact report last December, maybe it was November, I don't really remember pretty well. Okay, it was December. We do it with the High Commissioner because we consider that this future law, which is the first law for this 2025 year, highlight 2 very positive items. Firstly, because it develops a tool called collaborating entities, which already exists in other regions and also in Spain. Collaborating entities are private entities that can help users and citizens to apply and complete their formalities with the administration. We really believe this is an important tool for rural areas, since we tend to have all the people in rural areas, but normally all kind of people that doesn't want to, to be outside the system. And given to these entities their consent, these entities can, develop their formalities and represent them in an administrative process, so that will be easy for them. And we think it will also help small halls and municipalities to carry out their activities, because, as you may know, 80% of our municipalities are really, really small. They don't have sometimes the measures or the tools or even the public servants. So this could be a really good tool for try to help them to develop their competence. And also, secondly, we think the promotion and facilitation of a digitized relationship with citizens and companies is going to help and is living in rural areas. So people can have their issues, or let's better say their relation with the administration in an entirely digitized way. Also, we believe it will be very useful for enterprises in order to ease formalities and help them to stabilize in rural zones. Well, and finally, we would like to talk about the report on demographic impacts in the regional budget. We've been doing this since 2023. In order to identify and quantify the expenditure that the regional government allocates to active policies to combat the population, and especially do the measures or to develop the measures of the strategy against the population. So for that, we have the memory of democratic impacts, which is set in Article 8.2 of Law 2 2021, that establishes that in the preparation of regional budgets, indicators will be taken into account that allow the demographic impact and the fight against the population to be integrated into the budgetary policy. For its part, this article states that expenditure on active policies to combat the population set out in the regional strategy against the population shall be identified within the budget, with the purpose to specify the budgets that are allocated each year to active policies to combat the population, mainly, as I say, the actions included in the strategy, which have an impact on integrated municipalities. The memory of demographic impact and fights against the population, with a specification on a proper or ad hoc budget to deal with the population in Castilla-La Mancha. It's our main exponent of the importance of the demographic challenge in the policy of the government of Castilla-La Mancha. So in order to facilitate the novel cross-cutting approach of analyzing demographic impact and combating the population in budgetary policies, we also have the orders 103 2022 and 121 2023 of the Regional Ministry of Finance and Public Administration. We have set certain rules for drawing up the general budget of the regional government for these late 3 years. So the main objective is to provide an overview of the budgetary effects on policies to combat the population, especially the actions of the strategy. In accordance with this, we have the Article 6 of the Decree 106/2021 that regulates the organization, composition, and legal regimes of the Regional Council for the Development of Rural Environment, which you can relate with the population in Castilla-La Mancha to report on demographic impact that will be forwarded to the Council, which is the body to cooperate in this field. The general budget of Castilla-La Mancha for 2025 includes 2,036 million euros in active policies to combat the population, which represents for us an increase of 600%, which means 150 million more than budgeted in 2024, which might seem a little, but for us is a big and a huge effort. And that represents almost 25% of the expenditure ceiling for the next financial year. So, or in other words, as the Vice President and the High Commissioners like to express, 1 in 4 euros of the region's effective budget is earmarked for the fight against the population. And also it should be noted that the next accounts of our region allocate 3.7% of the GDP of Castilla-La Mancha, which for us is a huge effort to try to fight against the population. And finally, I would like to talk for a little about the strengths and weaknesses of our model. Firstly, the strength, we have several strengths in our opinion. First of all, that there's a clear legal framework and respond to the same definition of the objectives to be achieved. So there's a legal obligation to produce this report for all the administration. Secondly, we have a production guide and a model of the report, so that all the operators can answer the same questions, work on the same issues. And related to that, we have training courses that are being conducted since 2023, I guess, for civil servants to learn about all relevant aspects of both the population law and the strategy. Of course, this report must be reported to the Regional Council of the Population. And the truth is that after several years of practice, the realization of these reports have already been assumed by the operators and are carried out in the legal text. And finally, the demographic impact reports of the budgets have already been carried out for 3 years by now. And this is consolidating itself in obtaining the information we need in order to improve the fight against the population. And finally, if we must talk about our weaknesses. We have certainly some weaknesses, such as that there's no unified process model for the implementation of plans and programs in our region, and their approval is necessary so that the drafters of these documents are aware of this obligation from the beginning of the drafting work to the final implementation of our laws or plans. Since it is a new regulation, it is necessary that all operators know it and know how to use it. We are trying to do it, as I previously said, by training courses and a huge effort by my colleagues of the High Commissioner. And in the case of the budget impact report, obtaining information on the different spending programs and their impact on active population policies cannot be obtained automatically. So it is necessary to use calculation systems based on percentage and indicator, which might not always be very easy for us. So this is the end of the presentation of our work case. Thank you very much for your passion and your attention. We'll try to answer all your questions in case you have any, and if you need more information, we will provide you these days with a specific case or how we have done the impact report on many of our laws. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Diana. And it was very interesting. I think you are a very sound rural province system, very well established in the legal framework, and hopefully getting more and more efficient at the daily work of your stakeholders and civil servants. But anyway, do you have any question or any comment you would like to put forward to comment on? If anyone, I have some questions, but I would like to give the floor to anyone who may be interested. If not or not yet, I will put forward one question. Well, I have one comment. First, the emphasis on defining territories with a given diagnosis, that to me looks a very interesting tool in order to modulate the actions and the type of actions or the intensity of actions. And another aspect is that it also allows for a mitigation of negative impacts So I can imagine that probably in your laws and regulations, you probably will introduce very often that kind of different provisions depending on the kind of territory you have. Is that the case?
Yes, it is the case. You can correct me if I'm wrong, Maite, but I've been doing it by my own, with my own law. And when you are doing the report, you have to make difference between the zonification, and each zonification has its own rules, his own way to act, and his own way to correct the law or the plan in order to try to be the more practical for this territory. Is that right, Maite?
Yes, it's correct.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
But if you're willing to know a little bit more, we can do like a little report on what happened with our law and why we decided it would be positive for these kind of places, especially comparing with the zoning, sorry, not zonification. We can give you so much information this week.
Good. We will appreciate very much any information you would like to circulate among the group. Aure, please.
I'm interested. Spain is a big country, and how you're using, in some cases, maybe the reports to influence the central government in Madrid, if the problems are related to the national level, central level.
Well, I'm going to try because it's not my expertise. But I think we have a high commissioner in Spain, as you might know. So all the policies are developed in between the state and our regions. In our case, we were the first region that approved our law. So we are trying to be very vocal about it constantly. That's why we've been traveling to Brussels many times to try to ask for more funds, especially from the European Union, but also from Spain. We were actually working on the NAT3 in order to try to have more policies from the national government like a couple of years ago. But it's I don't know if I'm wrong, Maite, but I think in my experience, it's been hard because, Spain has just problems of the population in some of the territories, but in others we don't have. So it's really difficult to try to explain to our colleagues, especially from other regions such as Madrid or Catalonia, that do not have this problem at all, our necessities and how they should work to give us not only more funds but more help. You might know also that we do have some competence in our own, such as health and education. So sometimes it is difficult to try to develop a more important policy than at the same time not having enough money to do that. So I don't know, like it's difficult to try. In fact, we have like a group between Aragon and Castilla León and Castilla-La Mancha, where we try again and again to make a force that the national government help us and listen to us. But it's not always easy for them to try to understand our actual situation. Yeah.
Sorry, I have more questions. If we talk of monitoring and evaluation against the overall strategy, to me there is a senior administrative post in Spanish administration, which is the Technical General Secretary, Secretario General Técnico. And the roles this responsible plays, to me, is very appalling, because I had the feeling that she could play a decisive role in being the champion or the watchdog for rural proofing within each department. But I don't know if that's the case in Castilla-La Mancha. Who is the one who takes care of implementation in the machinery of the each department for that rural proofing work associated to the decision-making process?
In our region, you mean?
Yes.
In our region is the High Commissioner of the Population, Jesus Alique. And then I think we do have like people from every area of the administration, right, Maite? That are
we have the commission interdepartmental, and we work together with all the departments. In the if you want in one department, they construct, they build their laws, and the secretary technical is the dog. we are not the dog. Because it's impossible for us reading all the laws in this part of the project.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, it's the High Commissioner who evaluates all the laws and programs and tell us if they're on a right or we have to change it in order to improve rural areas, I guess. Right?
So, but the commissioner interrelates with other departments through specialized civil servants, or it has to be, not necessarily with the Secretario General Técnico of the department.
One person of all the departments choose one person to stay with us in the commission.
Okay.
Sometimes, more or less, the 75% is secretary, but in other case is another director.
But the thing is, Maite, I think the idea is, in fact, it's Maite who's giving mostly of the training courses to try to explain the public servants what we are doing and which are the proposed, so they can do it by themselves, because as she has said, it is quite difficult for them to try to evaluate all the laws and especially all the programs and policies that we develop in Castilla-La Mancha, right?
Right. Yes, this is the question. We need to introduce the new law for the civil servants, and it's complicated to introduce all these new ideas or new form or for build the laws.
Well, as Ares said very smartly, I would say it's a matter of aligning the different wheels of the machinery, and that's not a matter of rocket speed and very easy way to do. So creating rural proofing intelligence will take time, even the best designed systems, like might be Castilla-La Mancha's case.
I think it's a matter of time, actually. Yeah, you're right.
Okay, any more questions or comments from the group? All right, well, we are almost at the end of our time. So, well, if you don't want to add anything else, I will keep looking forward to meeting you again in Cuenca. I will thank again Are, Diana, and Maite. I will thank you, Christy, Bernie, Anna, Danica, Heather, of course, and all the rest for being here today, and hope you will have a happy Eastern holidays. So we'll keep in touch and we'll meet soon in Cuenca on the 10th of May. Don't forget it.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye now.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.